invites me to do a meditation, and would I accept going online, to accept the invitation online, live online. I mean, I'm not used to doing this. Anyway, so, okay, I click the button and I go for it, and he helps me to relax, and I close my eyes and I relax, and I didn't realise it then at that time. I really didn't. But I did reach a stage of, it was just his words. It was just took me in this place of like nothingness. It was dark. It was obviously dark in my, as I closed my eyes, and it was just nothing really. It was nothing, but it was peaceful. I didn't realise then at the time. It was just, and it seemed natural though. So it was just what it was at the time. There was no analysing it. It just was.
Welcome to Silent Sages Speak, the podcast where timeless wisdom meets the present moment. I'm your host, Sukhdev Virdee, and in each episode, we delve into the profound teachings of non-dual masters, those who have transcended the boundaries of duality and revealed the simplicity of existence. Join us on this journey beyond words as we explore the essence of being with those who have realized the truth that goes beyond language, beyond thought. Open your mind, silence your chatter, and let the wisdom of silent sages resonate within you. Today, my guest is someone who went through a physical and emotionally abusive childhood and 2 toxic marriages. She attended one of my online workshops on non-duality and had a profound shift in consciousness during a guided meditation. Today, she herself is on a journey guiding others to self-realization with her own unique method. I'd like to welcome to the show, Jennifer. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Hi there. Well, that was a profound introduction.
Thank you.
I feel really honoured and privileged to be here, actually. And that
thank
was
you
brilliant.
for taking the time out, and I'm grateful that you can spend a Monday evening here with me. And first of all, before starting anything, I want to wish you a very happy birthday.
Oh.
I found out it is your birthday. All right. I wish you a very happy birthday. And you were born and brought up in the UK, and you still live there.
That's correct. Yes.
Tell us about from the information that you sent me. You've had like an emotionally, physically abusive childhood, but tell us about how you came into spirituality. Did it start from childhood, and how, right? Was it in your teenage years, college, or was it after your marriages?
I had usual childhood experiences, but nothing I would have associated to being spiritually related back then. But basically, it was just a child's imagination after all, wasn't it? So, and what we believed, what we're made to believe in. And so basically, it was really in my, I would say, when I was at the age of 20, really, 20, 21, when I was in my first really abusive, toxic relationship. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm not discussing that. But at the end of the day, it did serve and help me to become what I am today, as everything has done from to date, basically, and will continue to do so. Basically, what happened was I was with my first husband back then, and we were just casually, as you do in everyday life, visiting a couple of friends in their flat. It was only a walk away actually from our place, and it was just the usual general chatter, and I was just in the background just listening to what was going on, really. And then all of a sudden somebody dropped a tray. Well, it sounded like a tray. It was the most crashing sound, and it did make me jump, and I felt my heart race. And that was it, really. And everybody just, carried on as usual, started laughing and then getting back to conversation, but not for me. That shatter, that bang, was like it ripped through, for me, the fabric of space and time. I didn't even know that back then, as space and time. It was just totally like ripped through what I knew to be the reality that I was familiar with, that I was actually in. It was really, my mind was just not prepared for that one. It
Yes.
was like seeing, I mean, imagine this. I don't know if any of you can, but it was like whole my reality become completely insubstantial. It was like seeing holographic everything. My stereo player that was there back then was everything was just like completely insubstantial, and yet their forms were kept somehow. That's why I said it was like a holographic matrix of some kind. It was like insubstantial, and yet the form was still there. I mean, like, had I have done so at the time, but I didn't, obviously. I was just so, completely taken. I could have literally waved my hands through those forms like you would a hologram. And, well, that was it. I don't know how long it lasted. There was no essence of time. And then suddenly reality come crashing back, as it were, to use that sound, crashing. It was like all of a sudden, OMG, what happened? I was absolutely terrified. I begged, literally, I had to leave the flat. Everybody was trying to, talk to me, but their words were irrelevant. Their words didn't mean anything. Our whole language as we know it, it was just, it had no meaning. Nothing they said meant anything to me, I was so terrified. I was only 20, guys. Come on, I like to go out. I like to party, I was arguing with my mum. I was like, fighting with my husband. It was just like, wow, that was normal. What happened to me was not normal. It was just threw me out completely. And suffice it to say, on our walk home, I literally, I don't know where I got this from, but I just remember doing it. I fell down on my knees and I was begging for mercy. I was actually begging for mercy. And then I got up, and then all of a sudden, it was like my whole life, or all the lives that maybe I've lived, I don't know, I just didn't understand it. It was like become a circle of everything I've ever experienced and would experience, brought me to this situation. And that was terrifying because there was no escape from it. That was it. And my mind could not take any more. And I thought it was a long while, but I was just threw myself back into this marriage because, seriously, being abused and everything else that goes along with that, it was normal and it comforted me. And that's why I stayed. And that was that part over with. And it never, you see, the thing is, I never recovered with it. Recovered from it until ...
Yeah, you are one of the few people who are reporting that experience to be terrifying, because I had a similar one, but for me it was blissful and peace. It was unconditional love, and like you say, it was holographic. Everything was like a hologram. For me, it was almost the same, but it was everything was in golden light, shining in golden light, and I was the light. And I don't remember the mind. My mind, there was no mind. I was not there. The mind was not
That's
there.
right. That happens.
Yeah. So when you say if you would have put your hand through it, that means were
Mm,
you aware of your body at that time? Oh,
no,
no. Okay. So yeah,
no,
obviously
I
the mind
wasn't.
would stop there. And yeah,
It
uh,
did stop.
if you say time stops, the mind stops automatically. You can't have
Yeah,
time and the mind together. Wow. Wow. So this is after your first marriage and after your 20s now. And now you had some more terrifying, what another trait that I've noticed with most people who awaken, it's always a tragedy that takes place before the awakening. It's just like in a dream when the lion is just about to pounce on you and you wake up. Just something
yep.
terrible is about to happen. That's when you wake up. And in spiritual awakening, I've seen that with most people. It happened with me as well. But it wasn't like an instant. This is something that can go on for a few weeks, a few months, a tragedy that can go on for some time. And then you suddenly wake up. So uh, when you're describing it, yeah, it's very common. That's common to have. You had more experiences, such experiences after that?
Yeah, I had many different experiences because there were no answers back then, no.
Yeah.
There wasn't internet, and if you wanted to order any books, you had to go in a library or
Yeah.
find out about them. And then, like when I was studying esotericism, you had to order these books. I studied The Seven Rays by Alice A. Bailey and others, and so I started to study spirituality, but I was still believing in myself that I'd had a nervous breakdown, and I was still happy to believe,
Ah.
and at the end of the day, all the spirituality that I was studying didn't really give me any answers. I couldn't
Yeah.
never find.
What spirituality were you studying? Because you sent me that and I couldn't make out what part of or what spirituality was.
It was esotericism, and
Okay.
just back then it was the books that I managed to obtain, like Alice A. Bailey and the Seven Rays, and other different spiritual
Okay.
books. Rudolf Steiner's back then, Vision of Love, others,
Okay.
yeah. And basically, I either one, my mind refused to draw the dots, as it were, to that actual experience because it just didn't want to know.
Yes.
Otherwise, for me back then, it was just like it didn't help me, and maybe that's why, because my mind actually refused it at the time because it didn't want to relive that experience. I hung on to survival. It
Mm.
was survival because I literally felt back then I was going to die. And seriously, I really believe that if I would have let go into that nothingness, into that what happened, I would have died. Literally, I would have physically died.
No, I don't think so. But, let me ask you something else because most for me also it was the same thing. When it happened, that experience just gave me another reality, something that was more real than this universe that we are experiencing. And that is something that I could not doubt. Now, here we can doubt what's going on, but that seemed so real at the time. It seemed more real than the universe we're living in right now.
Yeah, it. That was how I was always going to spend my life from there on. And I didn't understand it. I really didn't. And I
Yeah.
always feared it. And then, obviously, as a result of that, I went through more torment, more conflict within myself. Anything spiritual just didn't help me at all.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you that. It seems like you went through. Did you go through the dark night of the soul, as they speak? Because you say you had to finally face your own demons.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
would you describe it as the dark night of the soul? Is that what?
I would, but can one really go through those amount of years from like being 20 to I would say at the
Yes.
time, 68 years old, going through the dark night of the soul. I don't even know if that's possible.
Okay. There are some people who have been through it for like 20 years, 20 plus years.
It took me a lot longer because that experience stayed with me.
Yeah.
But having said that, I went through, I remarried again, and it was a lovely marriage, and it still is. It's so profound, my marriage right now. And
Yeah.
I stayed with it, but hey ho, we went through the most tumultuous times, and I found out that I was codependent, and I started to self-reflect within myself, to literally face my own demons. And obviously, yes, I've been aware of non-duality, because since then I had been studying non-duality. Hey, Sukhdev, hi. It was you that introduced me. I found your books, read a lot of them.
Yeah.
And that really helped me. But when things got worse in my marriage, I obviously again cast all the spirituality aside. And but I didn't realize then how much it did play an important part to me. Several years later, I would say about 4 or 5 years later, I think.
Yeah. 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 For those watching, this is the second time I'm meeting Jen on video, and she got in touch with me over email after reading my books from Amazon, and we exchanged a few emails. And so I wanted to ask you, you read the I Am Consciousness book series. I remember you telling me that you really cried when Swamiji died at the end. And when I was writing those books, I didn't know he's gonna die until the day I was writing it. Imagine. And I cried for 2 days as well. I realized what an author goes through. I had never dreamt of being an author. Tell me, did those books explain or give you clarity about what non-duality or your true nature was?
Well, not at the time, no. I
Yeah.
understood it for just stories, really. My
Oh,
mind
okay.
only knew stories.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know any different. I was the I call it I-ness. I was the I trapped in the mind.
yeah,
And I still had no idea that I was trapped in the mind. I was aware, don't get me wrong, I was aware of like um, being aware and of my faults and things like that, but I still didn't have this kind of understanding, this experience. I think it is the experience I'm looking for,
of
really,
course.
that enabled me to understand and have that experience of actually being trapped in the mind.
Yeah, yeah. And
I found it
the
was only that experience of having that experience that caused that actual shift.
yes, yes. Is there, are you talking about the first time we met on the on the online workshop with the
Uh,
guided meditation?
yes,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I,
Obviously, intellectual knowledge is just more knowledge. It's of no
yeah,
use until it becomes a living reality for you. It's got to become
mm,
that. And that only happens when the shift takes place or the ego is let go, gone off, you know? Yeah. Go
yeah.
on. So go on about the shift. Sorry, I
Oh,
interrupted.
basically, I was, as I said, I was already in very deep reflection of myself. You know, I loved my husband unconditionally. The only thing I can say is I trusted my heart. That's all I knew, because you and I, Esther, I parted company because I really had to work on myself. So spirituality and non-duality, they didn't help at that time, even though I understood it, but I didn't have the experience. So it just went, I'd worn the t-shirt, it went into room 101, to be honest. And what I had to focus on was now my survival, my marriage, fight or flight. Do I stay? Do I
Yeah.
go? Basically. And I read a lot of books, yeah, that helped me through this process. And in doing so, I had to face up to my own codependency. I had to start taking responsibility of my own actions, my own behavior. Okay. And that was a very long process, especially when I realized I was codependency. Again, it was like waking up from a matrix. It had my name all over this book. I mean, how can that happen? And it came to me by coincidence. All what I'd been Googling before didn't make any sense as to how my marriage was like, as it were, being so tumultuous. I didn't understand it. There was no reasons, you know. Okay. And that's when I started to look within, and then I found that book, and basically it gave me the answers. And I had to like think, oh, this is it then. You know, this is not about spirituality. This is about myself, my survival, and survival of somebody who I really deeply love. But hey, get this, the love that we had wasn't real. That was the shock that I started to realize, that this love was like, it was like a love in expectation of you do this, I do that. I started to see the trapped, what I refer to as the trapped I within the mind. Gradually, slowly, realizing that this is not the love, this is not normal love. Yeah. And then gradually my heart started to open more, because I'd always unconditionally loved my husband. It was a beautiful love. We felt it when we first met. Still there, and just as today is beautiful. But the thing is, yeah, I had to like realize this, that this conditional love, I didn't know existed, but it was in my heart, and that's what I followed. And I was just brought into these synchronicities. I became more self-aware in that I loved myself. I gained more confidence within myself. I gained self-respect. I became more independent, more self-sufficient, and things started to gradually change. I sought support. Yes, I did. And it helped. But the thing is, I was already there, and the support that I sought just helped validate me, validate what I was going through in respect of seeing maybe a therapist or people that are versed in this self-reflection. They said, yes, you know, you're becoming aware in who you are, in how you're managing yourself, how you're changing. It is to love yourself. So this was really self-reflection. Spirituality just wasn't playing the part just yet, until that fateful night. Or was it a fateful night? Everything is fateful. It doesn't really matter. It just is as it is. Okay, just simply that night, basically trying to keep this short and simple, but my husband is a very, very ill man. And I won't go into too many complications, but he's had sepsis 3 times. And that one night, it was in November, I just had my emotional support cat put to sleep. His name was Sian, and I have to say it. Hey, Sian. Anyway, and then my husband just had to be admitted to hospital, and his life was in a fragile balance. I'd been experienced weird shifts, I called them weird, before then, where there was this fraction where my reality was changing a little, but not with the same intensity as I had during that time. But there were gradual shifts of things becoming slightly insubstantial, but not like it was before. And by this time, I was more aware of the possibility. This is where non-dual started to fit in. It started coming into play in the back of my mind that there's something there. I think this might be it. I'm not sure. I don't know. But then, hey ho, come on, concentrate back on yourself. you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to sort this out, you know. And then, lo and behold, this email arrives in my inbox. Yo, this is Esther. I'm doing this course on non-duality. Just, it's free. Come on, come and join. And it just happened that night when I'd been to see my husband in the hospital. I was so tired, you know, and I thought, no, I've worn this t-shirt. I'm not going back there again. It's not doing me any good anyway. Lo and behold, I thought, looked into my heart, looked into myself, and I thought, there's a synchronicity about this. Why at this particular time? You know, I thought, no, I'm going. Estev's my friend. I lost contact with him ages ago. You know, I mean, this is great. It's got to be done. I will follow my heart, not my reasoning, not my logic, my heart of what I've been following all along. And then that brings me to that fateful night.
That was, let me tell you why I invited you. It's I, after my awakening, went into a shell for about 8 to 9 years, and just last year in October, that would be about 6 months ago, is when I had the urge now to come out and start talking about this to everybody or anybody I can meet. Because you know my history, I'm a pop singer, I do stage shows, and I'm, you know, like a rock star. And then suddenly here's this guy who's now starting to talk about nothingness and emptiness, and the whole industry here, the music industry, all the people who knew me would probably think he's lost his mind. So that's the reason I didn't come out. And in November, that was the first time I said, I'm gonna host a 2-day online workshop for all the people who I know, who have been in touch with me, who have read my books, and who know me in some way or the other about my spiritual background. And so I sent out an email to all those people, and you were one of them. And that was my first online workshop that I did in November, and you attended it.
Dev, I didn't realise that. That was your first one.
Yeah,
I
that was my
remember
first one.
you saying something, but with all what's happened and like today, I mean, well, that's really quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, so
I
I
never
remember,
forget.
I took you on a guided meditation. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. Oh, I'll never forget that. Anyway, yeah, basically, I enjoyed the videos.
This is the fateful night you're talking about, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It was great. I mean, I was just focused. I was able, because of my self-reflection, I was able to compartmentalize things. Yeah, although I still didn't understand what was happening in a spiritual sense, but I knew what I was just following my heart. That's all I can say. That's all I was writing in my journal. I am following my heart. That's all I was doing. So anyway, gets on and talking on the video, and it's really interesting. And then it's Dev. I say Dev for short. He doesn't mind, do you, Dev?
No, no, not at all.
Oh.
Not at all.
Okay, so Dev invites me to do a meditation, and would I accept going online, you know, to accept the invitation online, live online. I mean, I'm not used to doing this. Anyway, so okay, I click the button and I go for it, and he helps me to relax, and I close my eyes and I relax, and I didn't realize it then at that time. I really didn't. But I did reach a stage of, it was just his words. It was just took me in this place of like nothingness. You know, it was dark. It was obviously dark in my, as I closed my eyes, and it was just nothing really. It was nothing, but it was peaceful. I didn't realize then at the time. It was just, and it seemed natural though, you know, so it was just what it was at the time. There was no analysing it, it just was. And then all of a sudden I heard Dev say, now about your cat, I want you to think about your cat, and how would your cat feel at this time? Boff, all of a sudden I was still in this state of nothingness and peacefulness, but my self-reflection come into play, and I was aware of my boundaries. I was aware, but it wasn't affecting this state I was in, this peaceful state. It wasn't affecting that at all.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, Sianam doesn't feel nothing. There was no emotion, no tears, nothing. It was still peaceful, and it was lovely. And then I remember thinking, but this is it. Sianam wouldn't be feeling nothing, would he? And then gradually come back, and I really didn't think more of it, or didn't. Yeah, I was back to my self-reflective self again, doing what I do. And then after that, what I knew before with these gradual reality shifts, I knew something was happening. It started to accelerate even more, basically. And I'd finished my therapy, and my therapist, she was religious, but obviously being a therapist, she took religion out of it. And I was like discussing to her about these reality shifts. And I imagine that doing to a therapist. But for some unknown reason, she was aware. And I remember her saying to me, and she shouldn't really have brought religion into it, but I explained, about my heart and what I've been following. And she actually, I think maybe she took a chance on breaking the boundaries, but she said to me, that's what Jesus did. He followed his heart. Okay, right. Anyway, but she was a really pleasant lady, and she really helped me. But hey, that was it. I felt well. My marriage was changing. I was changing. Things around me were changing. I was changing my relationship with my friends. Bless them, and I love them all so much. They were just so. They noticed the changes in with me. They noticed the changes in our marriage, and these reality shifts were happening, but it was gradual. It wasn't intense. So my mind, I think, was being prepared this time round, being aligned, as it were. And then basically what happened was I thought, aha, Dev, he can help me. I think he's the next part of this. If for some unknown reason, we were just always in sync. It's hard to explain, and we always have been. It's really bizarre, actually, when you talk about it like this. But that's what happened. And since then, I think it was it November, December? Was it November? End of November, December 23, you started to guide me and help me through, understand it, what was happening to me through my experiences of when I experienced that intense moment of grief, that I was bordering on complex grief, became aware of it, and then had that experience where I got so low in grief that it was as low as you can get, really. To committing Harry, to that point where all of a sudden that was it. My heart bloomed. It sort of like shot out my chest. And what I experienced, what one would normally associate with grief, it was like the grief of all humanity. Now, there was me having to try and explain that one to Dev. And Dev just helped me through all these shifts. And he actually said to me, he said, you know what? He said, but this was at the beginning when he started guiding me. So how's this? He actually, I've got his words all in my journal. And he said to me, you're right. Yeah. He said to me, you're only going to be needing me for about 2 months or so. And I thought, oh yeah, it's going to take longer than that. Hope he's going to bear with me. He was right. And like to find myself at these shifts, and it was when I finally had that ultimate shift. Oh, it wasn't nothing like what I had. It was I went there, but it was in a different way. It was just like all of a sudden, it was like the consciousness of myself or whatever it was at that time is what I know it to be now is completely different.
Yeah.
But it was like the shift into the ultimate, whatever it was, whatever you experience as it as or refer to it, it was just as it was. It was just like this ultimate, this knowing, this experience of this. There's nothing else. This is it, mate. You know, there's no escape. What you're gonna sort of like plead for like a nervous breakdown again? That ain't happening. That's not gonna happen, mate. You've got the choice. You either face this or bye bye. See you again another time. Adios, amigos.
Yeah.
That is it, you know. And my mind was sort of like taking it in. My heart started racing, and I thought, oh, deja vu, we're back here again. Okay. And with with all the self-reflection and the guidance of Deb, sorry, that's what happened. I was able to, it wasn't as intense, but it was it. It was the same thing. Reality didn't shift or become insubstantial. It was completely different. In fact, it was this light. I just saw this light, whether my eyes were open or not open. It was a light, but it wasn't a light. It was sort of always there. It was always on, but it was not on. It wasn't a light. It was just always there.
Yes. That's what when I do the guided meditation you spoke about, like you went into the nothingness. It's there all the time. We just have never recognized it. We never notice it. We never pay attention to it, and nobody has ever taught us about this. So it's like nothing. We've heard the word nothing so many times. We've never inquired into what it is. Could it be something? Because it is. It is not a thing. That doesn't mean it's not. It is. It's not a thing, but there is nothingness. The quality of nothingness. It's so simple, and when you realize it, it's like the universe has played the biggest joke on you. It's the biggest cosmic joke that can ever be played. You have been taken for a ride.
You know, and with that ride, I've never experienced gradually after that shift. That's when I was reaching out to you again. I said, Dev, I said, I can't believe what happened. I said, I've just experienced this laughter that I've never ever experienced before. And I still keep laughing to this day. And it's the same. It's basically, it's the paradox of all paradoxes, and it's being aware of this paradox of exactly what you said, the actually absurdity of life in itself, in how we are living it, how we've been perceived, how we perceived it, how we've been conditioned to believe in it. It is just one literal cosmic joke. And I have to be careful sometimes, because I might be out or I could be anywhere, and all of a sudden you'll just see it. You know, somebody might say something, and you know, this absurdity comes into play in this paradox, and it's just like, it's so funny. And I'm just things are so
I'm glad you got in touch with me that time, because everything that you were saying are things that I had been through. I knew exactly what you were going through. And for me, I didn't have anybody who would tell me, and I had to figure it out for myself. But luckily, I had studied the Upanishad, so I could make out logically, intellectually what was happening. But then when you were speaking about it, I said, thank God you've got in touch, because I can tell you exactly what it is. There were times when I'm just standing, and suddenly I just feel there's God everywhere. I'm surrounded in divinity, and I have tears rolling down my eyes. My wife is asking me, "What happened? What happened?" I said, "I see God." I didn't know what was going on. And when you spoke about those experiences, it is so good. After that, when you got in touch that would you guide me, and I told you 2 months. Yeah, 2 months is more than enough. um
Not for me, it wasn't back then.
okay. I thought uh I'll do it because you requested it, but then I realized that there would be so many other people who can just benefit from a simple WhatsApp chat, you know and I might be depriving of other people who maybe want to do that. So I put that up on my website. Anybody who wants to get in touch on WhatsApp can do that. I didn't realize just a simple chat would give so much reassurance and confirmation to somebody going through it.
That's incredible. But that 2 months, I remember basically when you wrote to me, you said, "Well, this is the time." What was it, when the student becomes
Oh
the
yeah.
teacher or something like that?
Yes, 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 yes.
And and that was really, I thought, this can't be happening to me. And I understood, because during this time, all the knowledge and all what I'd been taught, self-taught, about the non-dual path, it it just collapsed also. It didn't mean anything. And I was just left in this sort of limbo for a while. I'm a writer, and I have goals. I did have, back
Yeah,
then, and it was only a short time for me until now, basically. And my writing, I didn't know how to write anymore. I didn't know how to communicate with friends anymore. You know, it was like I didn't know how to put into words really what was happening, and this change. And I used to call it shifts in reality, but hey ho, you can't say that to friends, can you?
yeah, yeah,
And then, but gradually I started to tune into uh, something that it was really different. It was like I I was more in tune with, like, metaphors, in a way of maybe being able to relate to people, and my communication was changing, not into the sense of how I used to write. It was completely different. It was completely different, and I found that I was like in this zone. I call it being in the zone, with this oneness in just in being, and I'm just able to be in this zone, and I just intuit of of whatever I talk about or whatever I write about. And I started sharing this gradually, bit by bit, by listening to people, relating to them, listening, relating, using my skills and my knowledge in self-reflection, in helping them reach certain stages in looking within themselves. And it snowballed from there. The next thing I knew, I was doing a WhatsApp group on
yeah. I was
self-realization,
gonna
and
come.
another group as well. And people were resonating with what I was saying. And it's not something I needed to think about. It was just something that was just flowing through me, like it was so. And that's it. I don't take it for granted. I don't expect it. It's just something that is just naturally happening, that people are actually resonating with.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you. I was gonna come to that as well. You are now on your way teaching other people as well on the same path and how to overcome uh their obstacles on the spiritual path. And I was gonna say that what you said, you are in a limbo for 2 months. Imagine I was in it for 8 years. So you went through 2 months. I went through 8 years of not knowing what to do, not wanting to meet anybody. To talk about now, how do you guide other people, and how do they get in touch with you? What is your unique way? I know you do it. I am on the WhatsApp group, and I know you do it in a different, very different way. I've not seen somebody teaching in that way. I want you to speak about how you do it.
Okay, well, I have, I suppose, a general knowledge of things, really, of biology and how the mind works, because I have studied psychology, actually, qualified in psychology. And to believe it or not, I'm actually decided to do a counselling course at the moment. And just to find out that all the techniques I've been applying are what is being covered in this counselling course, but it's called different things. It's a different structure. It's just like it's innate within me, this psychology. But that's really not the point. The main thing is before I start this course, I've only been on it about 3 weeks anyway. So this was before the course. What was happening is that was actually somehow aware of the mind, and that we are driven by our main instinct, which is survival. And there goes our that is duality, because I think our brain produces many chemicals, okay, which the mind perceives and which triggers our thoughts and emotions. But these two main primal emotion or chemicals that the brain secretes, that is triggered by our mind, is survival. It's fear, pleasure, or pain. That is simply it, pleasure or pain. And that is the root cause of all our emotions. And we're forever trapped in this mind, in this survival mode, always wanting to survive, of torn between a tumultuous surf in our brain, in our mind, of either seeking love, pleasure, and avoiding pain. Hey, what's that all about? Aren't we supposed to face up to our survival instinct, understand it, work with it, free ourselves from it? And when I say free ourselves from it, it's actually being able to understand it for what it is, to embrace it as being an intrinsic part of our wiring. Our mind is nothing but how I feel it, a supercomputer, a quantum computer. Okay, our brain is the processor. Okay, we are stuck in that quantum computer, which is the mind. Okay, we just don't know that we're the user of it. I mean, really, does the mind actually know that it exists? It doesn't. It's just a perfunctory process, automated process. So let's harness that process. Let's work with it. Let us be the user. Let us free ourselves from it and be the user. Program it. Sort out all the bugged files. And then it goes on from I-ness to realize that maybe the I, which people refer to as the ego, I see it as the I-ness. Yeah, the I that's trapped in this cycle, in this brain, this endless loop, that we can free ourselves from that I in a way of liberating the I. And then in liberating that I, we become then aware of that I. That's I-ness. And then you get to a stage where that I-ness completely collapses and dissolves within itself. There is no more I-ness. It is then comes into isness, in which case there's 3 stages of isness, which is just being. It is to start with, it's the aware being. And then it is a being that is aligned. It is the aligned being. And then it is the one being, which is the ultimate, basically. And that's what I teach, but it's all taught through and guided through a really practical, fundamental way where people resonate with it, because I tailor what I teach and what I guide from the zone. It's not me. It's what I perceive from the zone. They relate to it in their own unique way.
Yeah. I'm part of the group, and I see every day how people pour out their emotions and their stories, and you're there guiding them each individually, and we with personal attention, which is
Yes.
very rare to see. That's great. That's superb. I just remembered when you said there was this state where when you realized the truth, you just burst out into laughter. I was interviewing somebody last week, and she said I asked her what's her favorite quote, non-dual quote, and she said one of Buddha, and I said what is it, and he said the Buddha said, so all that's left to do now is to laugh.
Mm.
Nothing left, nothing more left to do.
That's it.
Once you've done it, there's nothing left to do but just laugh.
That is it. That's what I feel every single day is unconditional love. And I just feel so joyful and my mind is just so peaceful.
I am so happy to see you like this because, the reason I asked you to, I invited you on this because you've got a remarkable journey and your turnaround and the shift has been so quick. Like I said, it took me 8 years just to get out of not wanting to do anything to now stepping out and talking to people, and something that like that took you just 2 months, and you had just read my books. You had been in touch with me about just a year back, and to see you now already teaching other people, I said I must get her on, and people should hear about her and her story. You need to write an autobiography.
Well, that's what I'm keeping a journal for. I'm
Yeah.
hoping, but I just don't know what is seriously. I don't do anything. I don't control anything. I just
Yes.
feel that I am in this alignment with an. How would I explain it? It's basically what I share with others is an infinite possibilities. It's an endless stream of infinite possibilities and options. And in being aligned, you just aligned with any one of them. It's not about choosing, it's just being in alignment with that. It that in itself is just so it just is as it is. And you're just being in alignment with that. And I'm not saying that we don't get emotions, because we do get emotions.
Of
Sometimes I
course.
get some people say to me, but I still feel this and I still feel that.
Yes.
Obviously, there is no escape from our emotions, from that basic wiring. But what
Yes.
there is the realization of it. And when what I'm hoping to do is help people to understand a little bit more deeper, in the sense that these emotions, once they are actually detached from the thoughts and from the mind and from the stories we create, is that the emotions actually become energy. That's all it comes down to, again, at the end of the day, being seen in a different way, that everything is just
Energy.
energy within
Yes.
our body. We have an energy within our body that vibrates, resonates with this energy of the universe, of that which we are in our being, in being.
Yes.
And when you reach this part and you feel these emotions, it's completely different. I'm not saying your heart doesn't race, or that, in the worst times, fear is just energy being harmonized all the time. And it's seeing that it's being free from those thoughts that are usually generally attached to these emotions. They are so distant, they're in a background. And it's the energy. And if anything happens when you're aligning, any conflict, you can feel the conflict, but it's not being out of alignment. Conflict and alignment are two different things. Conflict is letting you know that something's not right. Okay, maybe somebody, might have said something horrible to you, or you're in the car and sort of like, oh, whatever. And that reminds you instantly of conflict. Many people can relate to this. And it's that conflict that when you're aware of it to such a degree that you know what it is. And I'm talking about conflict that may be really troublesome to an individual. It's all subjective, but when you reach that conflict and when you get to a certain stage, it's a piece of cake. You just instantly see it, and it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's all a process of alignment and these emotions of energy being always aligned. And I don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next.
So nice to see you smiling and laughing. Tell me, what would you tell the girl that you were 10 years, 15 years back? What is the difference in the shift of that person to what you are right now?
I wouldn't have believed it. I do reflect, because I've been writing a journal for years, and now and again so I creep and say, what happened this time last year, let's have a quick peek, and then obviously the incontournable, sorry, that's French, my husband's French, incontournable, the unbelievable Facebook comes up 11 years ago when I wrote, I just passed my driving license, wow, I'm so happy, but what's going to happen next, I'm scared. And I look back and I copied that, I took a screenshot of it, copied it, and I thought, oh, wow, yeah, imagine that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And coming out, to actually be honest, I call it coming out, as you said, Dev. It's only been literally the last 2 weeks that I've changed my Facebook profile, and to actually start saying that I help with guide and help people for self-realization. It was a very daunting thing to do, in the sense of I feel this emotion, but the emotions being brought into harmony all the time.
I remember telling you this on text when you messaged me. Now I remember the saying of the teacher and student. I told you, it was the proverb. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the student is truly ready, the teacher disappears. That's what I told you. I was just telling you that you do not need me anymore, because I see you going on to helping other people do this yourself, guiding other people. I remember telling you.
It just happened. It just happened.
Yeah.
And it's just being in the zone, really. It's not me that's doing anything.
Of course.
And this is the paradox. Oh, I love paradoxes. It's great. I use all these quotes on Facebook.
Give us some of your really favorite ones. What are your favorite paradoxes?
Well, basically, there was one that comes to me. I was always innate in this way of perceiving things. I love quantum mechanics. I love the idea of quantum physics. It was innate in me. I could understand it immediately.
Wow.
Okay. But it was let darkness not veil light, but within that darkness see the light being veiled.
Wow. Yeah.
Judge, let God, I can't remember it off now. My memory is really not very good for these things, but when they come to me within the zone, they're all on Facebook anyway, so they're all there. But there's all these quotes that just come to me, and then I share them with people.
The beauty of duality in non-duality. You could not get my head around it. The beauty of duality in non-duality. When you're established in non-duality and you see duality, it's so beautiful. It's like you're in the magic show, right? It's ultra high definition. You're in the front seat. You're getting a front seat of what's happening in the magic show.
Great. It just cracks me up all the time. I can't help it.
And what people don't realize is, when you're on this side, when you actually awaken, when you call it like a magic show or a movie, it's entertainment because it's not really happening. So the fear, the ups and downs of life, and everything that can shake the person, you cannot be shaken. That you
Yeah,
are is
yeah.
completely,
It's just ludicrous. It's absurd. But then the thing is, though, you love with that. There's
yes,
no judgment. There's just compassion. There's just this unconditional love for everyone. You don't judge them. I might get the odd comment or one comment actually on from someone from Facebook, and I just laughed. I just put a smiley icon because you just understand.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it is funny, but it's not funny because you understand where they are.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that is
another thing. You understand people. You can read them. You can read where they are, and all I have is just compassion.
yes.
It's just unconditional love.
It's like
And
Swami Vivekananda in America when he used to meet people who would tell him he's crazy, and he would tell them with so much compassion, if you only knew who you truly are.
yeah, sometimes though you can't engage in people when they are so
Yes.
fixed in what they believe in or how they are,
Yeah.
and it's for they project out their insecurities and what they feel and think. That's what happens. That's what we all used to do, is project
Yes.
out
Yes.
our emotional baggage onto everybody else, wanting praise, wanting this, wanting love. It just doesn't exist. It just
I understand it, because if I spoke to me 10 years ago, I would say this guy right now is crazy. I would not listen to a word. He's lost it. He's lost his mind. He has nothing better to do in life. No ambition, nothing, no career, nothing. This guy I would never listen to 10 years back. So when I speak to people and they say, "What are you talking about? And how is it even useful? What am I going to do with nothingness and emptiness?" And I understand, because we would do the same if it was us in that position 10 years ago.
exactly, we would. But going back to where we are now, isn't it great losing the mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to lose the mind, it's the most amazing thing ever. But
This is the only place, if you say that statement, somebody would say, "Well done." Otherwise, they would be calling a psychiatrist straight away. She's lost
oh,
her
bring them
mind.
in, please. I'd love a one-to-one with a psychiatrist. That would be great.
They probably say denial is the first symptom. You're denying everything.
Yes, I'm insane. I'm absolutely insane. The paradox of that, of being in, actually being in, I am sane, insane. There again is another paradox
Ah.
altogether.
Yeah, good one. Good one. Good one.
So,
Jen, you look beautiful for 28. Happy birthday once more.
oh, thank you.
Tell me,
28.
what all do you have planned, and are you planning on any more courses? How can people get in touch with you, and how can they, get? Do you have a website? Do you have your Facebook group or your WhatsApp? How can people get in touch to you with you and learn more from you? And what else do you have planned for the future?
Well, as I said to you, I really don't know really what's going to happen from one day to the next. I only go with how the direction in which I'm being pulled, but I'm I'm sure that this is the direction which I'm going in, and so I work in alignment with that. And it's really to help people and to maybe develop these courses more. And I'm getting more interest in these courses. And I'm hoping next, actually, using this as a platform, thank you to you, Deb, I just can't believe this is happening still, is doing YouTube videos, actually coming out and start doing the course on YouTube. And I'm hoping to start that within the next 1 or 2 months. And because I'm still going to finish this counselling course, because I just find it so interesting. It's really great. And also on Facebook, I've got a self-realisation page and a group that for those people that are really genuine in learning about self-realization, and it's not easy self-realization, because it's actually like confronting the worst hell of yourself, the epitome of ourselves, the worst side of ourselves you can imagine. It's not an escape, it's not a get out of jail free card. You know, I mean, awakening to me is just basically the proverbial carrot. You know, it's just is as it is. You know, it's to face up, to really look within ourselves. Only then, in through awareness, using self-reflection and self-inquiry, can you really bring the two together and start the process of what would be to become self-realized. And at the end of the day, no one's self-realized. You can't seek what you've already been sought. That is in itself a paradox, because you only find out what you already are. You climb the mountain, you endure that mountain, your hands clinging on, climbing that mountain for what maybe could be a lifetime, or in sort of like a space of a year or maybe a couple of months. You surmount that mountain. There's been no helicopter ride. You've achieved it. Great, you're there. But hey, guess what? You realise that you are the bloody mountain.
Yeah, I love the way you put it. It's beautiful. And it's actually true. It's not something that you can do half-heartedly. You can't just
No.
take self-realization half-hearted and say, oh, I'll try it for some time and see what happens. It's not going to work. You've got to let go. You're going to let go of you. That means you're letting go of your entire life.
Oh, yeah.
And that is scary for the mind and the ego.
But
It's
you can be
equivalent,
prepared.
when I was writing the books, the I Am Consciousness book series, it was originally a 5-book series. And then when I came to the third part, I was doing the questioning and the answering, and there's some conversation that really hit me. And I said, there has to be a 6th part. I'm going to put it as the 4th part. It's called Kill the Ego. That was the 4th part. And the reason I put that in there was because when I was questioning and answering from Swamiji's point of view and David's point of view, there was fear that overtook me. It was equivalent to the fear of death. The ego is taken to the point of where it's scared that I'm going to die. Like you said, I'm going to die. And if you're not willing to do that, self-realization is not going to work for you. So it's not,
No.
yeah. And then only to realize it's all, you're the mountain. It's a joke. It's a boom. There's nothing there.
Yeah, and there's one more thing. I really forgot to say this, but I am actually a published author, and I'm on Amazon, and I have a fictionalized account. I'm also an avid cat lover, to be honest. And basically, my first book I ever wrote was called The One Cat, and it was a fictionalized account based on true experiences of my first marriage. And it's called The One Cat. It's on Amazon. I can send the link for Dev to put it below. And also my recent one was actually before this happened to me, this realization was this book that I shared with you, Dev.
Yeah.
So my goodness, it was AI Dreams and Her, because I love generated art. I love prompting generated AI art images. And I did this poem, this illustrated poem, and it's all about awakening, basically. But I still didn't know what I was writing. I still didn't have the experience of it. I've written endless poems about awakening, and I still, even while I was writing it, I did not have that experience. So when I look back on those now, it's just like, as I said, without that experience, there's no relating to it. It's the actual experience that jolts our mind, that short circuits the mind.
Yeah.
into realizing, and it's that realization that brings us into this being, just being.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen. Is there anything that I might have left out that you would want the viewers and the listeners? I'll appreciate you send me all the links. I will put all the links down below your WhatsApp group, your Facebook page, your books. Um, I think you have a website, or is a website coming up, or your courses that you're planning. Just send me all the links. I'll put them down. Is
I
there
will
anything that
do.
I have missed out that you would like to convey?
I think that is really everything. I just really want to say in the deepest of my heart, really thank you. I feel so honored. I feel so privileged. I just like, wow, am I really doing this? No, it isn't me. I'm just in the zone and it's just happening. What else can I say?
I'm just so happy to see you happy. From your story that you've narrated, we didn't go into the story, and there's no point of going into it. But from childhood being physically, emotionally abused to abused marriage, and today to see you happy and wishing you a very happy birthday, it's beautiful. I'm so happy to see you this way.
And I just want to say one thing. I love my husband unconditionally. And without him, and I wouldn't have been where I am today, because everybody, even my child, has helped me to be where I am now, because
Yeah.
I faced up to who I was, I faced up to my own demons and my own conflicts, and that's simply it. They are our masters. Sometimes we go looking in the mountains for masters and, the spiritual awakening, but it's happening every
Wow.
day of our life if we care to open our eyes and accept it, take our responsibility, and it's there right in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Those demons, when you face them, they disappear. They'll only scare
What
you.
demons?
They'll keep scaring you until you're scared by them. The moment you turn back and you look at them, they disappear. They don't exist. We never realized that. We never, but thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I know you do really do this kind of interviews, but I appreciate you coming on. And there was a reason, because I thought you've got such a remarkable journey and you've just started guiding other people. And I would love to have whoever watches this, get in touch with you. And you have your own unique way. And I would especially say that I don't think I give that kind of one-on-one personal attention as much as you do on your WhatsApp group. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
Always honoured, Brother Dev.
Yeah. All right. We'll stop it there. Thank
Peace
you so
and
much.
blessings.
Yeah. Stay blessed.